When a person gets cursed by a fal'Cie, they become a LaCie, and they get given a focus, right?
This is Saz giving us everything.
It can make us LaCie.
So starting around here is where I think the complaints have a bit more merit. And I know that, we play video games to unwind and relax, and in some cases we play them to get away from life for a while. But when you're playing a story-based video game, any story is written assuming that you, the audience, are paying attention. And for a video game, where it's a much longer form interactive story, there are going to be things that you will sometimes forget, and that is why there's an in-game data log. Hey everyone, Wandering Bard here, and we're trying a different type of analysis video today. So, one of the critical complaints that was made by both players and game reviewers about Final Fantasy XIII is that the story and the world and the jargon that are used are too confusing. And this complaint is of particular interest to me because, for those of you who don't know my backstory with this game, Final Fantasy XIII was the first game I played on YouTube. It is also the game whose soundtrack helped me survive grad school, so even before playing the game, I did a bunch of wiki research and such into it, and so I knew more going into the game than most people playing it for the first time would. So I have wondered, would this game have actually been followable if I was going in blind like most people would when the game first came out? So for this video, we're going to kind of be making a case for that by basically reacting to the lore-related cutscenes from the first 3 chapters of the game and making a case for whether or not the game is followable or if it's too confusing or not. And one quick caveat for this, because we're assuming no resources for this. Most people playing the game for the first time when it came out, they wouldn't have had a wiki to read like I did. And most people wouldn't have watched the live stream Square Enix did about the lore of this whole sub-series and such. There is an in-game data log. There is also, you would have had to have gotten a physical copy of the game because this game is not on the PS3 online store, I checked. Which means that you would have gotten a little booklet that came with the game that has a page that explains the backstory. And even reading the back cover of the game explains some details. So you can make the argument that those resources exist and they should be considered. For the purposes of this video, though, we are assuming 0 resources. We're making a case entirely based on what is put in front of us in-game. How confusing is this or otherwise? Let's give it a go.
The 13 days after we awoke were the beginning of the end.
It is criminal how good this game looks, honestly. You would never believe this came out in 2009. And yes, this was recorded on PlayStation 3, so no enhancements from PC or whatnot. It just looks that good. So we are on what's clearly a prisoner train with soldiers whose uniforms clearly scream dystopian authoritarian government, and we don't know much else yet.
You serious?
Be quiet.
She did it!
Was that Vanille's voice? So this might be one of the best character introductions Final Fantasy has ever had. It's definitely the most cinematic.
You alright? I'm not a LaCie.
I will address that in a bit. Okay, so we're on a prisoner train. Again, clearly dystopian sci-fi-esque government. There's an active rebellion / war zone going on at the time outside, and we, the audience, have no clue why any of this is happening. This is what's called in media res, when they drop you in the middle of a situation and not like at the beginning of it. And this kind of storytelling, how do you handle this? So we go into the concept of revealing truth, because here's the thing. They're not going to tell us everything right out the gate, because if they did that, we wouldn't be curious. The way that you keep your audience's attention is to make them curious about what's going on and why. So if you tell us everything right out the gate, it's for one thing, it takes a long time and it's boring, and then we're not curious to keep learning more. The concept of revealing truth and storytelling deals with how do you leave enough unknown to keep the audience asking questions and reveal more as it goes on, but not leave so much unknown that the audience can't follow what's going on. Because right at the gate, we have a ton of questions, like, why is there rebellion going on outside? Why are we on a prisoner train? What on earth is LSC? Do we need to know all these things? Absolutely yes. Do we need to know them now? Not really, no, because right now we're way more focused on how hot Lightning looks when she's I mean, we're way more focused on this weird mechanical robot creature thing coming to attack the train. Let's deal with that first, why don't we?
Oh, hey!
So they beat the war mech.
Aren't you supposed to protect civilians, soldier? I mean, you are Sanctum, aren't you?
Sanctum,
What are you doing trying to stop
presumably
the purge?
government then?
Why don't you tell me that?
I was a soldier.
Hey, where do you think you're going? Not wanting to get purged, I get. But taking on trained soldiers?
Better to die than get sent to Pulse. It's hell without the brimstone.
Important lore detail, Pulse is a place.
Yeah, well, hell's not sounding too bad. Because this place ain't exactly paradise.
Domesticated peacekeepers. Nothing to worry about.
Well, maybe not for a soldier girl, but I'm trying to say, hey! So, soldier. What's your angle? What? Classified military info? Huh? What's the matter? You quit, didn't you? Did you think I'm gonna go out there and just tell everybody your secrets?
FFXIII. My angle. I'm after the fal'Cie.
Okay, so let's talk about dialogue. The worst way to do exposition is to have the characters tell each other things that everybody already knows. Especially when you say, as you know, da 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 da. It's the laziest and stupidest way to do exposition. So this is a thing that comes in here. Lightning and Saz are both intimately familiar with the concept of a fal'Cie, so they're not going to explain it to us. You could do it with the child characters, but we haven't met them yet. So they have to show us a fal'Cie through story events, and we're not there yet. So right now, we don't know exactly what a fal'Cie is, but we can still tell from Saz's reaction, whatever a fal'Cie is, it's not good, and it's a bad idea to go after it, and yet that's what they're doing anyway.
Still happy you tagged along.
So again, we don't know everything now, but we have enough to understand context, and we will learn more later, hopefully.
On behalf of the good citizens, I would like to thank our brave false pioneers and express our best wishes for a successful relocation. Your noble and selfless sacrifice ensures the continued safety and peace of our society. Were it not for this remarkable gesture, every resident of Cocoon, your family, your friends, your neighbors, would be exposed to the dangers of the world below.
So I cut out most of the cutscenes from this arc of the story. They do a lot for establishing like plot beats and character beats, but they don't really establish much lore, which is the main point of this video. But we do get this bit of the Sanctum Primarch saying, Purges, we salute your sacrifice. They're framing it as this noble thing. Like the people being purged are being relocated for safety of everyone. And yet, what's really happening is they're murdering everybody. And that's why Yuge, in just a moment, he says,
And participating in this migration.
Migration? More like extermination.
Huge.
because then at the end of that arc, we come back to Lightning and Saz also figures it out, like, this isn't a relocation, this is just an extermination.
Massacre.
They're just killing everybody. And
Those
Lightning
people won't
also
even
figures
live long
out
enough to
that
die
was
on
always the
Pulse.
plan.
That was the idea.
What?
Sanctum logic. They conjured up the Purge to eliminate a threat. I mean, why carry the danger all the way to Pulse? Why not just stamp it out here?
So again, clearly dystopian authoritarian government
Execution
situation going on
masquerades
here.
exile. That's all the Purge ever was.
Relocation to Pulse. How does the government get away with pulling crap like that? And you knew this was gonna happen?
The Purge was PSICOM. Private Sanctum troops, not the Guardian Corps.
PSICOM, Guardian Corps. Soldiers are soldiers, aren't they? Pulse fal'Cie and their fal'Cie are enemies of the state. Tell a soldier to kill an enemy, and you really think it's gonna matter what uniform he's wearing?
Might have mattered to that one. Couldn't shoot. Got himself shot instead.
How about you? Orders say shoot, you pull the trigger?
Okay, I adore basically everything about this scene for two reasons. Remember I said about dialogue, how there is very lazy ways to do exposition through dialogue when they're saying things they already know. And then there's dialogue that happens where you have the characters tell us things in a way that makes sense for humans to talk like this. This is the latter. Lightning explains things about the military to us in a way that makes sense, differentiating between PSICOM and Guardian Corps and indicating, okay, she was Guardian Corps, she wasn't involved in the Purge. Later on, to Hope Estime, who is a kid, she gives a more thorough explanation in a way that makes sense for her character, and that works. But right now, what she gives us is enough to understand what's going on, and it makes sense for her to explain it like that. Other thing I adore about this scene is the character work that it does. These two, just through dialogue but ideologies, it shows a lot about who they are. Lightning is still very much a soldier, and her world is all about, I'm on the battlefield, I don't have time to question morality or ethics, I shoot or I die. And Saz, who is a civilian and a self-proclaimed jaded cynic, he is used to questioning the nature of everything. And so their respective worldviews just bounce off each other, and I think it's really good. It also shows where they're at. They're not friends. They're allies of circumstance, and it shows in the dialogue.
Seize hostilities and surrender at once.
Sarah! Just what you were looking for.
Yeah. Right in there.
So that's not the
Old
fal'Cie.
fal'Cie.
That's a structure that's housing the fal'Cie, apparently.
So, how do you figure that Pulse fal'Cie is different from the Sanctums? All things being equal, I just as soon keep wondering.
This is another example of what I was talking about. We've established at this point, Saz is the person who questions the nature of things, and so him asking a question like this, it makes sense for his character. It does a really good job of explaining one crucial world-building detail. fal'Cie are familiar to them because the Sanctum, the government of their area, also has them. This fal'Cie is an enemy one, but as Saz points out, really what's the difference? They're both fal'Cie. We still don't know what a fal'Cie is, but we can still follow.
You okay?
I want to tell him. It's just that
Okay, so for context, Hope's mother died saving Snow's life. Hope holds Snow responsible for it personally, but he wants to confront him, and he's just not very brave and doesn't really know how to do
think
it.
so.
So Vanille's kind of helping him out.
In you go!
She doesn't even really know what's going on, I don't think.
That way.
Up, yep, towards where the fal'Cie is. Good plan. Look on Hope's face! Oh my goodness.
That thing could... It could make us FFXIII.
Okay, so starting around here is where I think the complaints have a bit more merit, in that we have heard the terms FFXIII and fal'Cie thrown around multiple times now. We can get an idea of what a fal'Cie is from all the context we have. We're still no closer to knowing what a FFXIII is. And before, that was okay, because before we had this whole war zone combat situation happening to keep us entertained. Now the combat's winding down, everybody's had a chance to have a bit of a breather, and this is the point where we, the audience, start to need answers. And we're at the end of Chapter 1 now. Thankfully, the entirety of Chapter 2 is spent giving us answers to things we asked about in Chapter 1, but starting around here is where I can see people getting impatient and like, okay, you're still not explaining what's going on. Why is that? And I can't agree, they maybe could have given us a little bit more sooner, but we'll get to that later.
This is... I don't think I can...
You can do it.
What are you two doing? Here we go!
The pulse fal'Cie. It held our future. And our fate.
So Vanille is the game's protagonist for context. She is not the protagonist, but she is the one who narrates everything.
What did you expect? Even soldiers know not to go near the fal'Cie. You become a pulse FFXIII, and you're finished.
What do you mean, finished?
Aren't you scared?
Not so much.
You really don't get it.
So Vanille has just been
Pulse
completely
fal'Cie and
carefree,
FFXIII are bad news.
wandering around
That's my
here.
cocoon. Kick them out. Live too close to the fal'Cie. One-way ticket to Pulse. That's the purge in a nutshell.
If they catch us
Yay,
here,
we have
they'll purge
answers,
us
somewhat.
too. And
What's
then...
your problem?
Okay, we still don't know what a FFXIII is. We know why the purge happened. Apparently these people were too close to a pulse fal'Cie. I love also the fact that it is laughably obvious for anyone watching that Vanille is clearly from Pulse, to the point where it's honestly shocking that Hope hasn't figured that out yet.
What's my... Pulse is hell on Earth.
I think the door is winning.
Why didn't I listen?
Beg your pardon?
It was me. This is my fault.
Beg your pardon?
Cover your ears.
I love the
blast
hint
charge?
of
Wait, hold on,
vulnerability from
All right,
Lightning,
all right, go for it.
because she has been cool soldier girl this whole time, and now here she starts to show
I'm so
more of
sorry.
herself.
Please let me in. Please?
So for context, it took me a while to realize this. Lightning doesn't open the door. Snow flipped a switch right before this that triggered the door to open.
What-
But it certainly
How'd you
looks
open
like
it?
she opened it.
After you. If those things are still around, might be some soldiers trapped in here too. Except they'd probably be FFXIII by now. Huh? Not even human anymore. Just pulse FFXIII. Enemy's a cocoon.
So a FFXIII is
Can't show them any mercy.
what? Something that's they're transformed into? We still don't really know. Oh joy. We love the shambling crystal zombies.
What are they?
See, you failed. This is what happens when FFXIII don't complete the focus the fal'Cie gave them.
Okay, so a bit more of a hint there about what a FFXIII is, but still not much to go off. Hi, Snow.
Let's even these odds. How did you get in here? You gotta leave.
Vanille.
Okay, listen. Find some place to hide and keep quiet. Once I find Sarah, we'll all leave together. You'll be home in time for dinner.
You...
Wait! Who's Sarah?
Because he said Sarah's name
My
earlier,
wife.
yeah.
Future wife, that is. She's a fal'Cie.
No.
She's here somewhere, along with that fal'Cie. I gotta find her and set her free.
What's wrong with you? Why do you want to help FFXIII? They're the enemy.
Huh?
How can you save FFXIII? And not... That's insane!
Again, Hope holds Snow responsible for his mother
Probably.
dying because his mother died saving
gotta do
Snow's
something,
life.
right?
Snow couldn't save her.
I'll be back.
But he acts so carefree right now because he's focusing so much on Sarah.
Should we wait around for him and hitch a ride?
I'd rather go to Pulse! Why is this happening to me? When they found the fal'Cie the other day, we were just visiting Bodum. But the army took us.
So a
Who's
lot of
on that
people
train?
hate Hope for how
Because of that guy.
immature he is in the beginning.
Mom is...
He's just a kid, and I think the crash out here is completely
Probably shouldn't
in
leave them
character and makes sense. And the growth is
He wants to
beautiful,
help
but that won't
FFXIII.
come up in this video. But I think the crash out is
Hey again.
completely valid, all things considered.
Let's go with him. You gotta talk to him, Hope. If you don't take this chance, you'll regret it forever.
Okay.
So they follow Snow towards wherever Sarah is, and Saz and Lightning, meanwhile...
What's gotten into you, soldier? Thought you came for a fight.
My sister.
Your sister?
She's a FFXIII.
What?
They're also looking for
fal'Cie?
Sarah.
The fal'Cie has her captive, but I'll find her.
Is she still... Hey, what was her focus? When she became a FFXIII, what did the fal'Cie order her to do? It wasn't blow up Cocoon or anything like that, was it?
I didn't ask.
Listen to me. When a person gets cursed by a fal'Cie, they become a FFXIII, and they get given a focus, right?
What was that? Let's listen to that again.
When a person gets cursed by a fal'Cie, they become a FFXIII, and they get given a focus, right?
This is Saz giving us everything. A FFXIII is someone who is cursed by a fal'Cie, given a focus, presumably like a task they have to do, like blow up Cocoon or something like that, and if they don't complete it, they become a Seath, a shambling, mindless crystal zombie. This is great, and the only issue that I have with this scene is it comes way, way too late in the story. Like, this should have come way sooner in Chapter 2, especially because this is why I'm glad I played through the game again recently, because I thought, when I was remembering it in my head, I thought this scene happened before the one with Vanille, Hope, and Snow for some reason. I thought this scene happened, and then the one showing what a Seath is. Now, they go over what a Seath is in this scene too, but I think it would have made more sense if this had come first, and then they have Vanille and Hope and Snow meet Seath, and be like, hey, when a FFXIII fails their focus, this is what happens.
What I'm saying is, if your sister's gone that far, I mean, she might still... How can I...
He has no idea how to say it without sounding so insensitive.
There's no way to turn a FFXIII back into a human.
Okay, so that's the one dialogue line in this scene that kind of falls down for me, because with the way Saz talks and the way Hope talks, it gives the impression that a FFXIII itself is some kind of monster. And then we meet Sarah, and she's just a seemingly ordinary girl. You wouldn't guess that she was a FFXIII except for the giant brand on her arm. But the way they talk makes it seem like she should be some kind of inhuman, mindless monster. And to be fair, we learn a little while later that's what they've been conditioned to think. The way that the soldiers think and the way that citizens have been indoctrinated to believe is that a FFXIII is some kind of monster who has no will of their own. They only want to serve the fal'Cie, and they have to be shot on sight. But it does fall down a bit here when we meet Sarah and it's like, wait, huh? I thought this would be some kind of monster. What's going on here?
Even if she completes her focus, there's no changing her fate. She'll live her life as a fal'Cie slave. Don't make her suffer.
Just say it! Any LaCie, anyone who might ever become a LaCie should be wiped off the face of Cocoon. It's people like you that started the Purge in the first place.
So that's why the Purge happened. Also, I like the fact that we would expect the other side of the coin here to happen. We would expect Lightning to be the one who more blindly follows the Sanctum logic, and Sass to be the one who questions it. And here, they're role reverse, and it's not even out of character. And I think that's really interesting. Neither one of them is perfect. And that's what we call good character writing.
Sarah!
And there she is.
Time to go. We have to leave before the army.
You see the brand on her arm pretty briefly there.
That's a Pulse brand. That girl's a LaCie.
There it is.
I already told you that.
Pulse LaCie are the enemies of Cocoon.
So
Saz?
they should die?
Listen, if she fails her focus, you know how that'll end.
And killing her is a mercy?
You came.
Of all the things for Sarah to wake up and hear, that is not what she wanted for Sarah to hear. Obviously, she doesn't think that. She's questioning it, but...
Sarah.
Is that my hero?
Okay, hang on a moment.
Let's
Okay.
get out of here.
Hands off. I'm taking her home.
So, Snow is in love with
I'm not
Sarah.
my sister.
Lightning is Sarah's
You couldn't
sister.
protect her.
Lightning
It's your
hates
fault.
Snow,
She can save
and
us.
apparently Vanille
Sarah?
knows who Sarah is.
You can save
She hints
us.
at it earlier, and especially right there.
Protect us all.
And we get so much of the dynamic just from the way people talk and look at each other. And this is one of the things that a visual
was your
medium can
focus?
do really well, is to be able to make that happen. In a novel, it's definitely doable, but this is the most convenient way to be able to do it.
I'll make things right.
You just relax.
Also, this is probably my favorite
Thank you.
song in the game, is this one.
Sarah!
Sarah! Sarah!
Why is she turning to crystal?
LaCie who fulfilled their focus are transformed into crystal.
And now we know what happens when they finish the focus. And in a way,
Just like the stars.
that makes sense
Sarah.
to ask.
Sweet dreams.
It makes sense that Vanille would... So it's interesting. Vanille knows about what happens to a LaCie, and she's not asking because she doesn't know. She's asking because she's confused about why, and we, the audience, don't know that yet. But it does make sense that someone would ask, hey, why is this happening, if she doesn't know all about what happens to a LaCie, which for all we know, she doesn't. And the explanation here makes sense and it fits.
Sweet dreams? She's not sleeping! She's...
So I want to show this part of the scene to show what the perspectives are
She's
here,
alive.
No.
because
Legend.
Snow maintains the idea of, hey, this is eternal life. Lightning thinks of Sarah as just being gone.
Eternal life. She's not dead.
And apparently Saz also agrees that she's just
Sarah's
gone
my
now.
bride to
And
be.
that's going to come
I
into
promise
play
to be
later.
hers forever. I don't care how many years I have to wait.
It's over! Open your eyes and face reality!
Sarah, does becoming a LaCie really mean losing everything?
Yep, they know each other.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Okay, so for context, the army's trying to destroy this
go.
whole monument
Where you
they're
going?
in.
Day with the fal'Cie.
Snow is
Got some things to talk about.
doing Snow things.
What?
He's a bit of an
You're
idiot.
gonna ask it to help her? Are you out of your mind, kid? That thing wants to chew us up and spit us out.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Sensible line of questioning. What other option do they have?
Lightning?
This is the fal'Cie.
Ooh, fal'Cie reveal finally?
Sarah's a crystal now. You gave her a focus, and she did it. You got what you want. Now let her go!
It's this thing's fault the purge started. And it's people who are dying. Sarah told us to save Cocoon. That means this thing needs to die.
So Lightning's not gonna beg the fal'Cie for... Oh, wait, hang on. I think it's interesting, this fal'Cie is kind of unique, because the others that we see aren't like integrated into the structure around them, not super much. But this one, the whole structure may as well be the fal'Cie at this point. The look on Vanille's face, she's seen this thing before, clearly. She's not scared, she's not in awe, she's just resigned and upset. She knows what this thing is. Nope, no escaping for you, Hope.
Come on now. You really think you can kill a fal'Cie?
I'm doing this for Sarah.
They definitely sell how imposing this thing is.
I'm in. As long as you don't mind an amateur.
Okay, so they kill the fal'Cie, and I wish I could show more of this cutscene. It's probably going to get cut down a bit because copyright, but this whole cutscene is a work of art. Short version of it is they get branded as l'Cie by something from in here. They wake up, the whole lake below the vestige turns into crystal. They wake up there, and the next question that they have is...
Okay, if we don't know our focus, how do we complete it?
Because the fal'Cie doesn't tell them what the focus
I
is.
think I saw it.
Saw what?
That is how a focus comes down, people. The fal'Cie, they don't spell it out with clear-cut instructions. All you get is a hazy glimpse.
I love the looks on their faces here, like,
Well,
yes. And how
that's what
exactly
they
would
say.
you know about this, Sass?
Legends. Yeah.
Did you see anything?
I just... It's all kind of foggy, but I saw this big, towering...
What? Wait a minute. Hold on now. Do we all have the same dream?
We did see this dream when they got branded, by the way, and I had to cut it, but we get flashes of it again here.
So, we all saw the same dream. We all heard that same voice.
You mean that was our focus? But how are we supposed to know what to do from that?
That's the tricky part. The dream's the only hint the fal'Cie gives us. Figuring out what to do with it, that's our job.
Not the most
Okay.
efficient system, by the
We're
way.
Pulse l'Cie,
If
right?
you're the
Enemies at
fal'Cie and you want them to
So,
do the
does that
focus, you'd
mean
think
that
you
our
would spell out
focus
more
is-
clearly exactly
Are we
what it
supposed
is.
to save her?
Say what?
Our focus is to protect Cocoon.
Really?
Okay.
Jinx,
And why's
Vanille.
that?
Sarah told us. Let's do it. We're all in this together.
Did I leave in here
gonna
the
look for
scene
Sarah.
where Snow
She
tries
oughta
to
be
explain
nearby.
his logic? Because if not, I have to edit that in.
I'll come too.
Okay, I didn't leave it in. So the context is Snow thinks that their focus is to save Cocoon because the last thing Sarah told them before turning to Crystal is save Cocoon, which should indicate her focus equals save Cocoon, but she was branded by a Pulse fal'Cie, not a Sanctum one, That makes no sense, and Saz tells him as much, and he doesn't want to believe it. And yet, here we are. Anyway, Psycom catches up to them, and then this
Be
happens.
tougher than that. This guy's a Psycom, yeah? Supposed to be cream of the crop.
Yeah, but SciCom's an anti-pulse task force. They haven't fought a war in centuries.
Again, exposition about the military in a way that makes sense for the context and the
From what you're
characters.
telling me,
I love this.
sounds like a regular old soldier that's got more training than special forces.
At least more
Nothing for us
experience.
LaCie to be afraid of.
Cut the crap.
And she's the
Their
one
guns
who's
might be
most
green,
scared.
But SciCom's elites
Not
are
scared, but
cold-blooded
realistic.
beasts. They hit the field and it's game over.
Uh-oh. Then let's run away. Ciao!
I love that. As much as Snow hates it, he can't deny that she's right.
Trying to take on the post fal'Cie. That was our first mistake. We should have left it to the Sanctum. Why not?
Real.
I mean, we've counted on the Sanctum's fal'Cie for food, water, everything we've needed since the time we were born.
So, Saz mentioned earlier that the Sanctum has fal'Cie. He said that back in Chapter 1. We're in Chapter 3 now, for context. But, this is a hint as far as the reliance that the people of Cocoon have on the fal'Cie, where the fal'Cie provide everything for Cocoon. And this is part of it, I think, why Saz asks, hey, if we're so used to relying on fal'Cie, what really makes this Pulse one any different? And there's not really a good answer, but the problem is the people believe that there's a difference, which is why things like the Purge happen. Okay, so at this point, Snow has left the group. They found Sarah's crystal, and Snow stayed behind to try and get her out of the lake, even though it's basically impossible, because Snow's an idiot. That's well established at this point. The rest of the party is trying just to get out of here
They
before
must be hunting down Purge
that
survivors.
happens.
I hope everyone made it out okay.
So do I. But nowhere is safe for them now. Damn it. Just cause they shared a neighborhood with a fal'Cie. They get treated like post-tainted rats.
People really hate Pulse, don't they?
Again, it's so obvious that she is from Pulse in the way she talks. She's so disappointed
Tens of millions of
by all
people.
the animosity towards
All
Pulse, from
scared,
Hope,
all scared.
from the soldiers, from everyone, really.
They'd be shaking in their beds every night if they knew that LaCie like us were around.
But they purged that entire town.
It's crazy, I know. But the Sanctum fal'Cie did nothing to stop it. Up until now, Eden's always stepped in to correct their errors in judgment.
Apparently Eden's a fal'Cie then.
Guess humans aren't worth the effort. Figure they'll let us just kill each other off.
LaCie are not human.
Listen, you, that's enough.
Yeah, Hope, you're a LaCie, so shut up. But again, this is an example of the people of Cocoon have been taught to treat LaCie as scary, inhuman boogeymen. This is just another example of that.
We're still alive. That's something.
Try to stay that way, y'all.
I wonder what it'd be like to become a crystal, I mean.
You're gonna complete your focus?
Maybe. If I knew what it was. Yeah, I probably don't want to know.
Yeah, probably accurate.
Hey, Lightning. Did Sarah say anything to you about her focus?
Nothing.
You know what? She probably didn't want to worry you.
Vanille trying to do damage
she
control.
Didn't think she could trust me.
Oh.
So this builds on the scene from earlier where Lightning was like, "It's my fault. I'm sorry. Please let me in." The character hint for Lightning there. But I also find it interesting. I think this is the last cut, or second to last cutscene I included in here. We're almost at the end of Chapter 3. That the party are now all LaCie. And so the question is, okay, we have to complete our focus, right? But remember from earlier, as far as Lightning and Saz are concerned, becoming a crystal is game over, just as much as becoming a Seath is. So succeed or fail your focus, you're kind of just doomed either way. So Saz is exploring the idea of, what if I did become a crystal? Is that really game over for me? Is that really eternal life or not? Because it's a pertinent question for him for multiple reasons, as we learn later in the game. But Lightning is full of regret, and as the story goes on, the regret turns into frustration and fear and anger, and she begins to lash out. But a lot of people assume that the game's story is about do we complete our focus or not, and it's really not. The question is, we're doomed regardless. What are we going to do with the time that we have left? And for that reason, I think the characters in this game are all really interesting because they all take their death sentence in different ways and they handle it differently. And we see how the experience ultimately helps them to grow, which is what stories should do, is show growth and journey, and it reflects theme ultimately. And that's good story writing, IMO. Okay, yeah, this is the last one.
For the love of all that's good. Huh?
Next, an update on the status of the Purge.
So they stole an airship
Just
to get out.
moments ago, the Sanctum announced the successful conclusion of the Purge, along with the safe arrival of the Cocoon migrants to their new homes on Pulse.
Again, they killed everyone they could. And we don't know what happened to the ones that... Because Snow was trying to rescue Purge deportees earlier. We don't know what happened to them. But it's interesting how the Sanctum, because they have control over the media and control over the information, they can just lie to all the people and say, hey, we relocated everyone. We, the audience, know that's not true. And it just shows again, dystopian authoritarian government using fear and using propaganda and media to control. It's really interesting.
Yes, that is correct. There's no denying the enormity of the strain the Purge placed on us all. But given the tens of millions of lives at stake, there
And he can
was
just
no
spin it as
alternative.
being like necessary evil.
Nicely stood by the move, stressing the necessity of the relocation. When asked about the
A small
possibility of future
sacrifice,
the Primarch
air
remained
quotes, for greater
non-committal,
gains.
stating only that he would seek counsel with the fal'Cie Eden and weigh all options before making a decision.
So the fal'Cie was
And
complicit
as
in the
for
Purge.
us, if it makes the Sanctum look bad, it never even happened.
In all the centuries since the War of Transgression, Cocoon has been spared Pulse aggression and prospered for it.
Lore detail
It is
there.
essential that we maintain this peace. That is
There was
the
once a war
Sanctum's
between
focus.
Cocoon and Pulse.
We will continue employing every resource available to combat these threats to the harmony of our society.
Meaning, we'll be running for the rest of our lives.
Because they're LaCie.
Mm-hmm.
Cocoon's not safe if LaCie are around.
Who's this guy?
I mean, what do they teach kids these days? He's Gallant Daisley, the Sanctum Primarch.
We heard him earlier talking about
According
the
to our
migration to
investigation,
Pulse.
Nearly
Tool of
90%
the
of Cocoon
fal'Cie.
citizens agree with the Sanctum's handling of the Purge.
Again, lightning is brooding here. So we're at the end of chapter 3, and from here, running from the military and trying to figure out their focus takes up the majority of the story. So a lot of the weight on establishing lore is really in these first 3 chapters. So what's my verdict? I think the information is all there to be able to understand what a fal'Cie is, what a LaCie is, and the whole focus thing, especially like now that we are LaCie, right? I will agree that the order in which some of the information is given could have been switched such that we get more answers sooner, but I do think the information is there and the story is followable. You just have to pay attention. And I know that, we play video games to unwind and relax, and in some cases we play them to get away from life for a while. But when you're playing a story-based video game, any story is written assuming that you, the audience, are paying attention. And for a video game, where it's a much longer form interactive story, there are going to be things that you will sometimes forget, and that is why there's an in-game data log, so that you can look up at any time, hey, here's what happened before. Because you can't just go and replay or rewatch. Actually, some data logs even do have the old cutscenes, so that's not the case for this game, but this is why there are resources available, because it's a longer form story. But all the information is presented in-game to be able to understand what's happening. You just have to pay attention. And it does help if you have experienced similar types of stories, because there's things about the government and how they do the purge and whatnot that would make more sense if you've read, like, a lot of YA novels, right? Because a lot of YA novels for a long time had this type of story and government. Hunger Games was the notable example. I think Divergent to a point, but Hunger Games mainly. So I think that the story is very followable. I think the information could have been presented sooner, but I think it is definitely all there. That is my verdict, but let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong or what your thoughts are on how the information could have been presented better, because I love hearing from you guys about that. Please also think about hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it. We have a ton of Final Fantasy XIII analyses on here. I want to do more story analyses as I get more recording under my belt, so hope you really enjoyed this one, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Until then, have a good one.